Boy, it has been a hot minute since I've sat down for a Q&A. I looked through my YouTube channel the other day and it's been over 6 months. So I thought that had to change. I had to update you guys. I also feel like I haven't like sat down and debriefed. There's lots going on. Also lots of changes, lots of exciting things. I've made myself an iced matcha in my cute little breezy mug. These are launching on the 15th of November, so make sure you guys are following on Instagram. Look how cute I showed you guys in my last vlog. Honestly, one of my favorite creations I've ever made. I'm not going to drag out this intro. Let's get straight onto the questions. Let's start with, how are you going? I feel like there's so much to unpack in this question. I definitely went through a period a few weeks ago where I was feeling pretty shit. My anxiety was honestly the worst it's ever been. Kind of triggered by a few things that were going on in my personal life. Specifically, I was getting really bad health anxiety, kind of where I was getting like all of these horrible intrusive thoughts surrounding like terminal illness and just like sickness in general. It was really like freaking me out and getting to me because whilst I didn't want to be thinking about these things, it was like going on in my brain 24/7, and it was like this little devil sitting on my shoulder being like meh, meh, meh. And my brain was like, Lola, this is so dumb, like think rationally here. But then I couldn't help it and I would just spiral, and it was really bad. I had like an anxiety attack in the middle of the night one day, and the next morning I was like, no, this is so annoying, like I'm just gonna book a doctor's appointment, get my bloods taken, and kind of just like get to the bottom of it so that I'm not having these silly thoughts. So I went to the doctor and she was actually very, very helpful. I got my bloods done, and then she was also like, let's tackle your anxiety because your bloods are going to come back fine, and then you're going to think of another thing to kind of be worried about. So I was like, yes, you're so right. So I ended up going on a mental health plan so that I could get like compensated psychology appointments. So yeah, I've only had one session with my psychologist so far, and it was really good. That week that I was like kind of going through it, I actually had so many good chats with like friends and family because I'm really lucky to have like such an amazing support system around me, and that already made me feel so much better. And after like a few days I was feeling kind of semi back to normal, but I wanted to make sure I like followed through and did go and speak to someone about it, because if I didn't, I just knew that it would eventually build up again, and I really wanted to kind of have resources in place for next time when I'm feeling that way, so I don't. Aside from that, I'm feeling much better now. I've just been really busy. Things with my business are going really well. I'm kind of a little bit overwhelmed in that department just because I'm implementing quite a lot of big changes that are quite scary and involve spending quite a lot of money initially, but once everything's like in place and running smoothly, I know it'll all be worth it in the long run. So yeah, I feel like there's quite a lot on my plate at the moment, hence why I've maybe been a little bit absent on here, but I'm putting things in place and kind of doing the groundwork now so that in a few months time, or even less hopefully, I'm gonna have more time to like consistently upload on YouTube. The next question is your plans for life and in general at the moment. This is something that Alex and I have been dwelling on for so long. Basically, our main plan is to go to Europe next year for 6 months. So we want to leave Australia in May, April, May, most likely May, and be there until November. So like I said, we're in the process of kind of just laying all of this groundwork, so much organizing. And just figuring out like where our furniture is going to go, where Yoki's going to go, how my business is going to run, how we're going to semi-work over there, where we're going to stay even. So there's like a lot of logistics and organizing going on in the background, but that is kind of like something I really want to do. I've talked about it for years. Instead of moving home with our parents when our lease ends at the start of the year, we're going to re-sign our lease here for 6 months and go from there. We're just gonna stay in this house. It's so much easier. It's big enough space. I have a studio. Yoki's happy here. As much as going back to our parents' house and kind of saving some money potentially would have been great, it's just not really gonna work. We have a lot of stuff we would be moving, and I think because we work from home as well, it just kind of would have been a little bit too much. And that's kind of where I'm up to. I haven't planned for when we get back from Europe. That's a problem for closer to then. Tips for managing work-life balance, and do you ever feel burnt out creatively? I feel like I'm the worst person to ask this to, but it's definitely something I used to be so terrible at, but now I have been getting better. Honestly, I have just implemented like regular working hours. So I make sure I have a nice morning routine where I'll like get up early, go exercise, go grab a coffee with a friend or something, or Alex, and then I come home and I want to be ready to start working by 9, and then I will like have a lunch break around 12, and then I like to make sure I finish work around like 5. Usually it's a bit earlier, honestly, around 4, because I like to like get out of the house in the afternoon and do something as well. I definitely think having some kind of routine really massively helps, making sure that on the weekends you kind of keep work to a minimum. Again, so bad, I pretty much always work on a Sunday just because I'm feeling motivated on that day. I don't know why. Another tip I think would just to be kind of take your waves of motivation and just roll with it. So usually for me, there's a day in the week where I don't feel motivated, and I'll kind of give myself that day off, and that's where, when I'm feeling like working on a Sunday, I'll kind of just let myself. Have you moved back home? And then there was also another one saying, what is your living situation at the moment? Do you still have your roommate? I can see why you guys are a bit confused about this, because the other day I actually posted on my story saying how we're looking for a roommate, and that is because next year, when our lease ends at the end of January, we actually are looking for a new roommate, because our roommate now, Taylor, she's amazing, literally the dream roommate. She has other plans, and that was kind of always part of the plan. There was no conflict or anything like that. She always said from the start that she was just going to be living here for a year. There are a few questions about what I'm doing to exercise at the moment and how do I stay motivated to exercise. This is kind of ironic because when I got home from Europe, obviously I hardly exercise in Europe, so when I came home I was just feeling really bleh. But I don't know if you guys relate when you've gone away for long periods of time. There's definitely like 2 to 4 weeks when you get home that your body literally just takes adjusting. I just felt super puffy and just like super lethargic, and whenever I tried to exercise I was so unfit, and that can be really unmotivating. But my tip is to just push through, just keep going. I used to go to a boxing gym, as you guys know, and I was kind of getting sick of that. I had trained there for like 6 years, and for the last like literally year I'd been talking about how I wanted to kind of change things up and I wanted to try Pilates. So I kind of like took that bleh feeling and decided that I need to switch things up and try out a new environment to kind of feel better and more motivated in myself and to exercise. So I'm now doing hot Pilates, which I love. These next few questions are more specifically travel related, and then like to do with the trip that I was just on. So the first question is any upcoming trips / Christmas, New Year's plans. So I'm actually going to Sydney at the end of this week. Probably when you're seeing this video, I'll be in Sydney for a few days with my cousin Zoe. We're kind of just going because it was honestly cheaper to meet in Sydney than for me to fly to Melbourne or for her to fly to the Sunshine Coast. And I've never been to Sydney, so I'm really excited. Let me know if you have any Sydney recommendations. DM me on Instagram or comment them down below. And then later on in the year, kind of ties into my Christmas, New Year's plans. Me and a bunch of friends are actually going to WA for a few weeks around New Year's Eve and the first half of January. There's a lot of questions here asking about how much my Europe trip cost me, because they're trying to go to Europe and want to kind of figure out a budget. Basically, I didn't really have a budget after not traveling for quite a few years because of COVID. I had managed to save quite a bit, and also I knew that I was going to be working over there, so I wasn't too worried, and because of that I just didn't really set a budget. Probably not too smart on my behalf, but it is what it is. And also we kind of just booked last minute, so we weren't able to kind of find super reasonable places. We just kind of booked whatever was in the best location for the best-ish price. And since being home, I haven't sat down and like been like, oh, this is how much I spent, and gone through my bank statement or whatever. But rough estimation, I want to say I spent around $17,000 to $20,000. You can definitely do it cheaper. That was like including me going shopping and eating out for literally every meal. Also didn't go over with a travel card, so I was using my normal Australian bank card like an absolute rookie and copying all of the transaction fees, so that definitely didn't help the case. I've also had so many questions about if I'm going to post my Europe itinerary. I definitely plan to. I honestly just haven't had time yet. I've started writing up the post on my blog, and within the next few weeks it is a goal of mine to have my whole Europe trip itinerary posted to my blog with like all of the links to wherever we stayed, if we hired, whatever, so that you guys can use it hopefully for next year. Favorite place we went to on my trip? That is so hard because I honestly enjoyed all of it. I know that's an easy cop out though, so I'm gonna say probably Greece. That waterfront Airbnb we stayed at in Santorini had to be an absolute highlight. Oh, but I also had like the best week in Puglia. I don't know, it's so hard. I just love Europe so much and we stayed in so many good places, but I hadn't been to Greece before, so that's why I'm gonna say Greece, just because I didn't expect to love it so much and I just loved it. Like, I can't wait to go back next year. Do you think you'll ever go back to university? Eek. Probably not to university. I definitely do want to do a course or maybe go to art school for a bit. There's this amazing artist residency in Europe that I'm looking at doing potentially for next year. So yeah, probably not like mainstream university, but I am definitely open to doing little courses. But I would absolutely love to do something next year that kind of aligns with my business. You guys will be the first to know when and if I decide to do something. Moving on to more business related questions. Has it been hard getting back into the studio after being away for such a long time? Well, I knew getting home it would take like a little while to adjust to kind of everyday normal life again. It was actually pretty funny because the first morning after we got home, Alex and I got up super early because we were obviously jet lagged, and walked down to the beach, and we were just looking around being like, oh my god, it's so understimulating where we live compared to London and Singapore where we had just come from. So it definitely took some adjusting, especially just because when you're traveling, you're used to like the hustle and bustle, being overstimulated as well 24/7, and then coming back to our small little beach town where there's not much. Whilst when I got home, I was feeling like so inspired and I had all of these amazing ideas that I wanted to do. I kind of underestimated how long it would take for me to like actually get back into the swing of things. I had been planning the drop that I am coming out with now on the 15th of November since literally before I left to go to Europe, and I thought I would come home and just kind of get right back into it and it would be ready by like October, because I got back at the start of September, so I was allowing like 6 weeks. But that was just so unrealistic. Like, I was working on it all of that time, but I think I just lost touch with the reality of how long things actually take for me to do, and then just all of the general kind of housekeeping I had to do when I got home. Getting back on track with my taxes. I also had the towel launch, so that took up a huge portion of my time. Even just catching up with friends and family after being away for so long. Do you think you will do pottery forever, or have you got other plans? I love this question because honestly, I'm not really too sure. I'm pretty set on the idea of pottery forever remaining a big part of my business. I have forecasted the things that I'm coming out with in the next like year or so, and I can tell you now that involves a lot of pottery. Going back to the question, I'm pretty certain it'll always have pottery involved in it, just because I'm so passionate about it, and I feel like I've done all of this hard work to get my business to where it is now, and I'm really proud of the pieces that I'm coming out with. Future product hints. The first hint is matcha. I feel like that's so obvious. And then the other hint is I'm bringing back 2 collections of something. So there's like one collection, and then after a period of time there'll be another collection, both different items. And I'm kind of relaunching the product. So I've done it in the past, that idea, and I'm changing it and relaunching. Will I be making more tutorial videos? I don't know. Do you guys want to see more tutorial videos? I feel like I'm kind of in a bit of a rut with my Small Business Diaries series and the kind of pottery content. I definitely want to keep filming small business content, but I'm just feeling like a lot of the pottery stuff is getting a bit repetitive. But that could just be me because I'm watching it 50 million times over editing it. I don't know, let me know what you guys think. Do you want to see more pottery tutorials? It's definitely something I could do and I'm keen to do. I just thought it was something that kind of got a little bit old and a bit boring perhaps. But I think the clay with me videos are really fun, and I really want to do a few more of those soon. But yeah, let me know if you guys want more tutorials and I'll happily do them. Okay, the last few questions I'm going to answer are about film photography update. There is not much to update on really. I feel like film is one of those things that it's just, you do get better at it, but it's always kind of just trial and error, similar to ceramics in a way. But basically I got my new camera. It's a Nikon 35 Ti, and I'm still also occasionally using my other camera, which is a Canon SureShot. Both great cameras that I recommend. Lately I've started to realize that the developing plays a huge part in how your photos end up. If you followed me on Instagram, you would have seen that whilst we were in Florence, we got a bunch of film developed and it was so expensive. I spent around 300 Australian dollars getting like 7 or 8 rolls developed. And whilst I whinged about it then, I still, to this day, think they were the best photos I've ever gotten developed. And if I had the choice to get every roll of film going forward developed there, I probably would, because the quality that those photos were developed to is honestly unmatched. I think they must have had really, really expensive equipment, and obviously that's why the price was so expensive. The quality of those scans was just crazy. Is Super 8 expensive? Yes. I feel like everything to do with film is expensive. But in my opinion, it's a form of art and I place value in that, because having those beautiful Super 8 videos, I know, is something that I'm gonna look back on fondly forever. So to me, it's just worth it and I'm happy to spend that money on it. Also, it kind of helps because Alex and I both use the footage, so we go halves in it, which definitely kind of helps a little bit. But yeah, it is pretty expensive. I think by the time you buy the roll of Super 8 and get it developed, it's around like $250 to $300 a roll, and that's for 3 minutes of footage. I'm generally out of breath from talking for so long. I think I'm gonna wrap up this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed. All of your support means so much to me, truly. I feel very lucky and grateful to have such a sweet and just genuine community. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. Have the best week and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.